Welcome to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and the founder of the Write Your Own Story company. Girl, I can tell you right now, you are definitely enough. Here we value service, sisterhood, connection, laughter, and that super genuine, keep it real, tell you like it is honesty. My hope is at the end of each episode, you realize you can do whatever it is you dream about and that you are not alone with what you struggle with. I'm hoping that you are snapping and clapping and hell yes in your way through each one of these episodes. So if this tracks with you, let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. I don't know about you guys, but I am just starting to come up from air from the holidays and wrapping up 2024. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm definitely starting to think long and hard about what I want for 2025, what I want it to look like and feel like and be like. And that episode is very much in the works. But for now, I just wanted to share some of the most impactful moments on the show from 2024. We picked these clips based on what shows performed the strongest in terms of downloads and listens, and then looked at the Instagram Reel performance to see which clips were the most engaged with. So this is definitely a very data-driven compilation of what has really resonated with this beautiful global female audience throughout the past year. Before we dive in, let me leave you this one last thought. Women's stories are so important because they are so often the clues we need for our future selves. So I encourage you to, when you listen to this episode, listen to it with an open heart and a quiet mind so you can hear your intuition when it speaks to you. These clips are full of beautiful honesty and wisdom, and I guarantee there will be a spark, a clue, an insight, or something that whispers to you. You just have to be open to receiving it. Let's get started. This clip is from my episode with Michelle Dempsey, a divorce coach and a podcast host, and the teacher of the Moving On method. If you want to hear more, check out the episode from November 4th titled Thriving After Divorce, Creating a Childhood They Don't Have to Recover From. This is for all the women out there who have that feeling of, I'm unhappy, I want to leave, but one, how do I know when it's time to leave? And how can you make me feel safe and that my kids are going to be okay? When women come to you in that position, what do you say?
I have a very strict rule in my business, in my coaching business, and with my coaches who I train, that it is never our job to decide when someone should leave a marriage or stay in it. But I will ask certain questions that will very quickly help people come to their own decision. And those questions are, do you feel you've tried everything in your power to make this work? Because you want to be able to lay your head down at night and know that you left no stone unturned in trying to salvage this marriage. Because if a marriage can be saved, save it. Like, you know, if the other person is willing to work for it, then try. If at that point it doesn't work, then go. But you want to say you did that. The other question I ask is, if your marriage stayed the way it is right now for the rest of your life, is this the type of marriage you'd want any of your children to have? And that's very often, you know, the eye-opening thing. And I'm very clear. I say, you know, there's nothing easy about getting divorced or co-parenting. It's also hard. Just like being in a bad marriage is hard. Like every part of our life is going to come with challenges, and it's how you handle those challenges that matter. It's not like there's one easy answer. There's not, but it's all doable. It's all figure outable, and you have to be willing to do the work.
Yeah. And what a gift to be able to create the environment that is a healthy environment and to model to your kids how to do the work if the circumstances bring you to that point. I love that.
Yes.
Okay. I think, there's so many women who think about that very quietly. And I just want women to not feel so alone in that thought process and to know that so many people are asking themselves the same question. You are not alone.
And that it is very okay. You know, there's the saying for a reason that a man marries a woman hoping she won't change, and a woman marries a man hoping he will. And when you get married young, and you get married because this looks so good on paper, they come from a good home, they have a good job, and then you realize this is the total opposite of the life I want, or I have now evolved way past that person. That's okay too. Like there's power in stepping into your power and doing what you need to do in order to make like your short little time on this universe count for something.
Yes. Like you said, life is short, make it count. Oh, I love that. Okay. I like to wrap up every episode really talking about all different types of conversation that we think women should have. And you and I had agreed. So You are clearly a very driven, ambitious, very busy. I've just signed you up for book 2, 3, and 4, amongst all of your coaching and training and all the things. How do you take care of yourself as a really truly, what is life like? What does it feel like? And how are you taking care of yourself?
So for me, it's the most cliche, but the most powerful form of honoring like the brain body connection. I need to exercise.
Yeah.
Sometimes it looks like heavy, intense weightlifting sessions with my trainer in the gym. Other times it's a 20-minute walk with my dog or to pick up Bella from school, because I need the type of work that I do. Like, you hold a lot for people,
Oh,
and
yeah.
holding that in your body can sometimes feel it's stressful, right? And
Yeah,
not because you
totally.
don't love what you do, but you're carrying people's stress for them. So moving my body is really important. I know, like, I'll get to a point in my day where if I don't get out and take a walk, like, I'm not going to be pleasant to be around. So I'm actually working on putting together a whole fitness component to the moving on method,
Ooh.
because simple, easy, like, connections that we make to our body on the day to day really help take your brain from like a level 10 to a 2 where it deserves to be. All that cortisol and excess stress is really damaging long term, and will affect your children, you know? So that's really important to me. The other thing I've really learned to do is I went from people pleasing and saying yes to every invitation and every ask of me to mostly no. Like, I don't want to
Mhm.
say I'm a hermit, but I have a very small, tight knit circle of friends that mean the world to me, who I will drop
Mhm.
anything for. But outside of that, like, my family and what goes on under my roof is my priority. I've said no
Yeah.
to so many incredible opportunities. You'd be like, how could you say no to that? But I know for me, taking care of myself means not putting extra pressure on myself. So it doesn't matter what celebrity has invited me to do what, or what party I'm invited to, that how could you miss that? Like, if it causes me stress and
Yeah.
it involves me leaving my family, my daughter and my stepdaughter, who I already don't get enough time with, like, I'm going to say no to it. So being discerning is the greatest gift I've given myself.
Being discerning. And I love that you have certain parameters that you kind of like check that against. Does this bring stress? Does this take me out of my home? Because you're so
Very,
clear.
very strict and strong boundaries. Like,
Yeah.
even with family, like, no,
Yeah.
you cannot come over today and visit, because
Yeah.
this is my time, and this
Yes.
is my daughter's got homework, and it's just not going to work today. Sorry. Like, if it causes
Yes.
more stress, it's a no. No way.
I I also, it's like a joke, but I also absolutely mean it. I'm like, I'm in my rest era. I am living my
Yeah,
best restful life. I love
absolutely.
staying in, which I'm so extroverted, but I'm like, nope, watch me round off back handspring. Just kidding. I'm crawling to the couch.
Yeah, I'm very introverted, and I felt really
Hmm.
ashamed of that for a long time. So I would
Oh,
force myself to socialize.
that must
And
be
now I'm just,
exhausting.
it is, it is. It
Yeah.
never feels
Yeah.
good to like force yourself into a situation just to avoid being alone. And now I'd much rather be alone.
Well, and I love that that's staying so authentic to who you are. You're like, no, I just don't genuinely, you're like, I love my people, but I don't enjoy putting myself out in those types of situations. I
Yeah.
also really love what you said about fitness, because I am so hopeful that women are going to lean into fitness and exercise from a somatic, honoring your body, just being like, this type sounds fun today. That sounds fun to walk my dog today, or it sounds fun to go lift with a trainer today. But like, it less about how you look and more just about how you feel and
Oh,
honoring
yeah.
what your body needs.
Yeah. It's not about, for me, like I always say, it's not about a revenge body. It's a revenge mindset. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm taking care of me because it feels good, and
Yes.
everything else is over there now. Thank you.
Yeah. And I love the way that you put it. So many of us are empaths that like when you move your body, it moves that energy out.
It fully
That
does.
that makes me want to just go
I
right on
have to
down to the
take a
gym.
walk sometimes before I
Yeah.
make, if it's a business decision, or,
Yeah.
my husband and I are trying to figure out how to navigate a difficult parenting situation. Like, let
Sure.
me take a walk
Yeah.
and then talk to me, because anything I say or do right now, like, is not going to be, it's going to be
Yeah.
too emotional.
Oh, God, that's so good. Let me walk about it. Oh, I love that so much.
Hmm.
Okay. I know we're at the top of our time. I could ask you 2 trillion more questions. So thank you so much for your time and for sharing your wisdom and for your passion. And again, just to reiterate how many children you're helping and how many women and how many families. And so I just, please keep, as long as it continues to fill your cup, keep doing the good work, because it really, truly is making such an impact.
This clip is from my episode with Jessica Ciccinelli, a mom and a trans youth advocate. If you want to hear more, check out the episode from April 1st titled A Mom's Journey in Advocating for Trans Children.
When they were 3 years old,
Yeah.
came to Chris and I and said, Mommy, Daddy, I'm a girl. And Chris and I are like, well, no, you're not. You know, you're actually a boy. No, I'm a girl.
At 3.
At 3.
Wow.
This is your child's journey.
I love that.
You need to let your child, like, as much as a parent, you want to like control what's happening and you want an answer and you want to know this is what we're doing.
Yep.
You have to let them take the lead.
Ugh.
So like, let them figure this out. Like you cannot pressure them one way or the other, and you can't pressure them for an answer.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's what we've done with Elsie. Like this is all her decision, the whole, you know, the whole way. Like, obviously, if something's going to hurt her or harm her or put anyone else in harm, like we're not going to allow that to happen.
Right.
But like, this was her personal journey, you know, inside thinking thoughts. And it wasn't our place. It was like, kind of like the hopes and dreams of your child. It's not our place to say what your life is going to be and who you are as a person.
Totally. And that's something that so many of us have to unlearn, because like, you know, generationally, it's like, these are my, you know, how many of us have had parents, mine weren't particularly like this, but like, are like, this is what I expect of you. This is what you do. You don't disrespect me. You do exactly what I say. Where my mom like advocated for me to wear culottes and Eastlands at a very young age with my bowl cut. But like, and also like sometimes as a parent, you can feel like you're like, when your child's having, this is completely unrelated, but evoking the feeling when your child's having a meltdown, because we've all carried our kid out of Target like a surfboard over our shoulder, having a meltdown, right? And you're mortified because you think that child's misbehavior is a reflection on you. So when you like, you just feel like you've got all these great things planned for your child that's never going to cause them any harm or discomfort. And now this is going to be something that is completely uncharted territory. And like, and it's your firstborn. You haven't learned the hard way yet that like you have to let your kid freak out in Target. Like, you know, like, I think that's such kudos to you guys. And like, it's been such a beautiful example of leadership in our community to be like, no matter what your child's journey is, it's their life, their journey. They have to live their most authentic self. And it's been inspiring to adults too. It's like, what are you trying to be? Just be yourself.
Right. Well, thank you. Because
truly,
I mean that's
it.
honestly like how I think we felt. And too, and like kind of going to school and telling people, it's just, for me, it's like, I mean, I can be too much of an open book. You know this.
Never. I don't know I don't know how to close a book either. I'm like, who wants to hear my life story? Bring it. Bring the book. Keep going.
But for me, it was like more of a relief to like tell people and like, show the world this beautiful person versus like hiding her away. Right. Or like trying to be ashamed of who she is. Like, she's a really awesome, cool person, and she's smart, and she's got a lot going for her.
She sure does.
Like the world needs to see.
Yeah.
And so, and also in talking about it, it just made it a little more normalized.
Yeah.
So like, I would say for parents that, you know, are like getting something from their child, or they're feeling like, is this what's happening? Like, honestly, you have to let your child kind of lead the way.
Yeah.
I would definitely like reach out to a doctor and kind of just to get a little guidance.
Yes.
And, you know, just the more open you are, I think the easier it is to normalize it for your child. Somebody told me the other day, with kids, all they want is to be normal. So when you like, and actually we're talking about Elsie and her height, because she's like 5'7", 5'8".
Yeah.
For the longest time, she did not want to be tall. I don't want to be tall. I don't want to be tall.
Yeah.
Well, now she's playing volleyball.
Oh,
and she's short compared to these girls.
Oh my gosh, really?
And so she's like, oh, I hope I'm not done growing. I really want to be tall. And I'm like, who are you?
Right.
But it was the point of like, now she's in this volleyball world, and that's a normal thing.
Yes.
Like she's seeing people like her. So the more people see themselves in other people, the more normal it is.
Yes.
And, you know, I mean, I think that's all we can do for our kids.
That's all we can do for our kids. And I feel like that is one of the big reasons why I started this podcast, was like, just for everyone to say their truth out loud, because I know what it's like to be a listener and to be like, oh, that reminds me of me. I feel so less alone now. And for Elsie to have community or just to say her truth out loud, and for people to be like, you are still the exact same person.
Totally.
You are like,
and I loved you before and I still love you now. Like that's like, you just want to feel seen and you just want to fit in like you did before.
Right.
Oh, right. That's so beautiful.
So yeah,
okay.
I feel like, again, the ADD, ADHD, I feel like I kind of answered your question.
I can't even remember what my question was. I was having so much fun listening. Okay. But I do have, so like, when we think about parents and we think about those who are sitting in that, like those early stages, as well as, well, okay, I'm going to stop myself there because I'm going to ask you 75 questions in one question. Breathe, Betsy. I just get so excited. Okay. So like, what are some of the categorical challenges that you would be like, okay, here's some challenges that you're going to see along the way, and everyone's journey is different. But also like, with those challenges, don't forget, here are some of the most amazing, beautiful things you're going to see along the way.
Right. So I would say the challenges, you just want your child to fit in. You just want your child to feel normal. You worry about, what are people saying? What are people thinking? Yeah. Are people going to treat her differently? Are they going to be mean to her? Those are probably, the first things. Then it's like, oh my God, college and life later. And, there's a lot of
when you're not
things
there to stand behind her and be like, just so you know, I'm Mama Bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I think that there's a lot of things I fear for her, without going down that rabbit hole and locking all of us in a house and never letting anyone leave.
Yeah.
But also the beauty of it is just seeing her thrive as herself. Like she literally is happy and social. She gets good grades. She plays on a volleyball team. She plays on a softball team. Like she's just happy. And to me, looking at her and seeing her feel as normal as her best friend right here, like that, them side by side, it's like, it makes my heart happy. It makes me like, that's all you want for your kid, is to just live a good, happy, healthy life. Right. Yes. And so that's the beauty of it, is that she's living her truth.
That's so beautiful.
But there are definitely some scary things along the way, but in the end, you just want your child to be happy.
Yes. So when we think about how do you advocate for your child, like, oh, I know what I asked you, and then we swirled and this advocacy makes me remember the question, is that how do we like communicate? So yes, you sat down with the headmaster. Yes, the teacher sat down with the kids in the class, but like, how do you do sports teams or your friends or their friends, or how do we?
So I like I said, I'm an open book.
Yeah.
But I just told my friends, like,
I love it.
And honestly, I think probably a lot of people that I would talk to before the whole transition kind of knew, like,
this is what's going on.
Questioning this, Elsie's saying this, whatever.
Yeah.
So they kind of had an idea what was happening.
Yeah.
But I honestly would just tell people, I don't know that I ever sent like an email. I don't know that we talked to the school.
Yeah.
And then maybe we said something, maybe we sent an email to the kids in her class. I can't remember. That sounds terrible. But
we were too busy advocating in other ways.
Well, yeah. So, and actually, I don't think I did. I think that she went to school, we talked to the teachers, and then it was like, if anybody had questions, they could ask the school, and then the school could either contact us or answer the questions, because we wanted to just make it normal. Yeah. And like, this is who Elsie is. And, a lot of the parents, there were a couple of the parents that specifically came to me and said, Elsie is just presenting as different clothes. Like Elsie is the same exact person Elsie was in second grade that she is in third grade. She's just a little happier because she can be her true self. Like, and that's honestly, people said that to me.
That has got to be so much fuel to your fire, to see this child who was withdrawn and not engaging, and just like the light was dimmed. And then to all of a sudden see them, be so she's so vibrant, and she's such a leader, and she's so determined, and like, she's such a great advocate for herself, and she was born that way.
Right.
Like, right. Like,
she is the most persistent child. If she wants something, she does not stop until she gets it.
Those are the ones that keep us in regular hair appointments.
Oh yeah. That is definitely the challenge of Elsie. And I love it though. I love it for her, because you know what? She knows what she wants, and she's going to go after it.
And like, you change the world that way.
Oh yeah.
I think that's amazing. Yeah. Okay. I love that. So for the friends that you've told, and what a beautiful thing for someone to come up and be like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that your child was amazing before and is amazing now. And I really love her blue skirt. And like, you know, like how, when you're, so in those moments when you guys were starting to go through the journey and just along the way, how can friends show up and support you?
You know, it's not a hard question, but I think just literally just calling, how you doing? How's LC? Like just being there. And then spreading the word, like when they're talking to someone, explaining, like, you know, I have a friend and this is what their child's going through. And this child, it's amazing to see the difference. Like just explaining and educating people on what being transgender is and what the situation is.
Yes.
And every situation's different.
Yes.
But just being able to, excuse me, able to advocate. I think that's huge. And educate.
Yes.
Educating, because I think the people that are so against this or think it's something totally different than what it is, I think that they're not educated about it.
Yeah.
And I think when you're not educated,
zip it. Sorry.
Well, not only that, but I think too, the things we don't know, we're scared of, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So you're when you don't know, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And it sounds maybe worse than what it is, or it sounds, I don't know. So I think that just spreading.
I love that. And like
the word of that.
How does it feel when people who aren't educated but want to be educated come up and ask you questions? Be like, hey, how do I talk to my kid about this? Because I want to talk to my kid about this.
I mean, I think that to me shows that you care enough and that you have empathy and that you're trying to teach your children this is okay. You know what I mean? Because like the world, like everybody's different. It'd be really boring if we weren't, right?
Totally. I love that.
So I think that ask me anything. I mean, like I said, I'm an open book. I feel like maybe that's the freaking
right. We got a title.
And then I said freaking.
Oh, you can say the real one here. Or say safe space.
But like, you know, I think that yes, come and ask me. And I think people genuinely, like I said, they know when you're being genuine.
Yes.
And you're just asking because you're curious and you want to know and you're not being a jerk.
No, you're like genuinely, like I'm genuinely curious from a place of empathy. I want to educate people. I want to educate my children. I need to educate myself because I just genuinely don't know what the D word meant. Like, okay. So then also, how does LC feel when kids come up and ask, let's say, genuine questions? Do they?
So I don't think they really do. That's cool. They might. She hasn't really said a whole lot. I mean, there were a couple kids, you know, in like younger grades that would like make a comment or whatever.
Yeah.
She would just blow it off.
Yeah.
And I don't know. She got a fight with one little boy and was like yelling at him and
probably deserved it.
Yeah, I think he did. But I don't really hear too much. I think that the schools, and I know Country Day, because that's where she is. I think they do a good job of like just explaining things, and they have different groups and clubs that, you know, kids can learn and become involved with advocating. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about acceptance. I mean, everybody has something, right?
Everybody's got something.
I don't care who you talk to.
Right.
Somebody's got something.
Yeah.
So you know what?
We just need to be a more accepting world. And like, truly, like, just let people live their lives.
Right.
It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them living their true self. This clip is from my episode with Hillary Weiner, an advocate for organ donation, amongst many other things. If you want to hear more, check out the episode from May 11th titled A Journey of Parental Resilience and the Miracle of Organ Donation.
I'll never forget, we were sitting around in the family room and they called us, the pediatrician. She was also on the phone with a liver doc at Children's and conferenced us in and said, we've got to talk to you. Where are you? And we were like, well, we're at home. We just put the baby to bed. And they said, you need to pack a bag and come to the hospital immediately. And she was like 8 weeks old. By the time we got checked in our room, it was the middle of the night. And that doctor got up out of bed, came and met us at the hospital and started kind of explaining to us what the blood work showed, which was showing a major liver disease. And they basically said she has something called biliary atresia. And biliary atresia, there's no known cause for it. The only cure for it is typically a transplant. There's so many people that need transplants and not as many organ donors that these kiddos and adults have to get sicker and sicker and sicker. The sicker you are, the higher up on the list that you go. So it's like, it's all points. You get a point value based on how sick you are. You don't want to watch your kid become sicker, but you also want them to
move
go
up the system.
Yeah. So it's a very challenging situation. So pretty early on, she was on the list.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We listed her. We carried around a beeper back at work. So like if the beeper went off and she had a match, we'd have to all meet at the hospital and get it going.
Right. Because it's like,
it is a time sensitive situation. And
from the donor's perspective, right?
From the donor's perspective. Right. Okay. And it was crazy. It was a crazy time because at the same time she was getting sicker. She stopped growing. She was on a feeding tube. Yep. She was on a ton of steroids.
I'm sure she was trying to rip that feeding tube out.
Oh,
she's irritable.
Totally. Yep. I mean, it's right going through her nose. Like,
right.
And the doctors kept saying to us, like the bigger she can be for transplant, the better off she'll be.
Right. But you're like so stressed because your baby's not growing.
Right. So it was crazy. So we also then realized that living donation for liver was a thing. We didn't even know, like we know kidneys, obviously you can be a donor.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't have known.
I know liver is an organ that you can donate as a living human being.
How did you find that out?
We read a lot. And in Japan and in Canada, it's more of like what their default program is like, if you need a liver, they're not waiting around. They're looking at everybody standing around. Like who's going to do it? And we are just a little behind on that. Yeah. We brought it up to the hospital and initially they gave us pretty big pushback because they just kept saying, she'll get an organ. There's no place on the planet where she wouldn't get something. And we just were impatient people.
Well, and you just knew what you wanted.
We knew what we wanted. And we just said, could this be an option for us? And they said no. And we pushed and pushed. And long story long, they said, fine, we'll see if you're even a match to even see if this
so you were just like, let's see if Jordan and I are a match.
Let's just see if one of us are a match. I mean, we have no other kids to take care of. We've only have each other. Like, let's get moving on this. She's not getting any better.
Right.
So the mom is a better donor till the child turns 3. So they went through my process first. Okay. And I went through about 6 to 8 weeks worth of testing.
Okay.
And that was everything from physical, like your full anatomy, to a psyche eval.
Okay.
To make sure that you are like of sound mind.
Yeah. To make a decision like that. Okay. Yep. Okay. So if anyone is considering donating, that's the kind of process that they have to go through.
It's a pretty extensive process, right? Which is good.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
You want to make sure the person's healthy enough to donate, but you also want to make sure that the organs that they have are healthy enough to give. So
absolutely. It
was a good situation. It was hard for us because we were so young and newlyweds and like our parents and families were involved and everyone had an opinion.
Oh, I can only imagine.
My parents had a hard time. They were like,
yes, I can imagine.
Think you should wait. Mm-hmm. You got to listen to the hospital things. This will happen without having to put yourself at risk.
Yeah.
We were meeting with attorneys and doing living wills and all that stuff. It was a very emotional and intense time period, but there was nothing that was stopping us.
Yeah. And I'm sure for Jordan to be like, okay, you're going to.
Right. I think he always thought that like, oh, they'll default to me. Yeah. Like I'll be like, so let's do it. I'll be the one.
He thought he would be the one?
Oh yeah. I feel like as the guy and as the man, you're not thinking like, you're thinking you can handle it. Yeah. Totally. You're thinking like, it's you, this is your thing to do.
Yeah.
And when it wasn't, I think that shifted a little bit in his headspace of worry.
Yes.
And, thankfully we found out I was a match. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, no, everything checked out and I was looking like a good match.
And so that was a 6 to 8 week evaluation process, but she still hadn't gotten a donor.
And we had said our decision was like, if something comes our way that we feel like is a good match, we will take it.
Yeah.
If not, if we're still chugging along, we are going to try to do it this way. Yeah.
Does that, exploring the option of being a living donor, does that affect your point system at all?
It doesn't.
Okay.
As far as I know, things might have changed. I mean, we're like 9 years in almost, but things might have changed.
Okay.
But at the time, not. But that's a great question.
So you're like gearing up for surgery. Like,
So the last time they had done a living donation, liver transplant, parent to child was like 3 years prior.
Okay.
And so, you just need double of everything. So it's really hard. You need double the OR, you need double the staff, you need double the surgeons, like everything. So scheduling that was kind of a bear.
Yeah.
My hats off to them. They had one of the founders or the founder of their liver program, Dr. Reichman, flew up from Florida was like, I'm going to take on one of these patients. And then at the time when all this was going on, we'd moved into our house in Hyde Park.
Yeah.
And a doctor comes in and she is a total badass, this lady, Dr. Maria Alonso. She comes in, she goes, my name is Dr. Maria Alonso. I will be performing the liver transplant. And by the way, I think we're neighbors. And we were like, what?
You're like, and
we
now we're
just moved into our house.
friends.
Best friends.
Best friends.
She lived like 5 houses down in this cul-de-sac that we lived in.
Yeah.
And it just all happened so naturally and great. And so she was the head surgeon on Beatrice's transplant. And then I had an incredible surgeon, Dr. Greg Tiao, who's still with the hospital.
Yeah.
As the head of my transplant. And then Dr. Reichman flew up for B.
Yeah.
And we had another surgeon helping Dr. Tiao. And so they scheduled it.
Oh my God.
For July.
What is prepping for that kind of surgery like? Were you guys isolated? Like, did you,
because like if you get sick or anything, like everything gets pushed off.
Yeah.
I really put the pedal to the metal in the exercise regimen.
Okay, girl, let's train for it.
They were like, if you are the fit, like the more fit you are, the better off you'll do after surgery.
I love that.
So I partnered with Define. Oakley really took me in and they were like, let's do this. And they helped me get on a good schedule and just feel good. They did a donation ride for B and for Cincinnati Children's, but in B's name.
Yeah.
And really kind of just put the pedal to the metal with that while we were both working and managing her and all that. It was a good prep leading up, good distraction.
Were you able to get help at home? Like, can people watch her? Like, is she so hard because she's so irritable and she's high risk and she's got the feeding tube, or were you able to lean on community at all?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we had nurses that helped us. Awesome. We had both of our sets of parents were in town.
Good.
Yes, we were very supported in that way.
Okay. So like people out there, like ask for help.
I mean, you could never do it.
Yeah.
You know, it just all of it. Like I couldn't leave my job because our insurance was with me.
Yeah.
And my insurance was so good.
Yeah. Right.
Which I didn't even realize.
Yeah. I know. You don't know until you know.
You don't know till you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like so many people, and I was one of that was like, is our insurance good? I feel like our insurance, it was phenomenal for us. So that was like not a question for me to kind of step back. So we both just had to kind of like work on it and figure it out. But yes, ask for help. I mean, it's the only way to stay sane.
What are sort of your wishes either for women or for the next generation?
It's a really good question. I want to raise my kids to be very positive people. If I could think about all that has gone on in my life in the last 9 years, my dad suddenly passing away overnight, to all the medical challenges that we've had, I think what's gotten me through is I tend to look at the sunny side. I want to raise kids that default to that. I also really, through all of this, through lemonade stands and fundraising, I want to raise a generation of givers of their time, volunteering in organization, helping people that are less fortunate, givers of time, givers of resources, donating money, raising money to donate to specific causes, and givers of themselves, what their talents are. Can they be a good friend to other people? And ultimately givers of their body. You know, organ donation is a huge problem in this country because there's just not enough organs to help the kids and adults that need it. So givers all the way around and all the way through.
I think the easiest way to raise givers is to do as you are doing and is to be a giver. Our kids are watching. And so when you make time for service, when you are like, we're dropping muffins off at someone in a coffee off because she's having a hard day. And like, you know what, this is just going to help her feel a little bit better. Or when you are on the board at Children's because you're like, this is an organization that I want to be a part of because they're such an important part of my family. And all I want to do is give back and help. And you have your own gifts and you're like, how can I help with the talents that I have? Like that is how you lead by example. And that's how you raise givers.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to do. And I don't know if I'm doing a good job at it, but I know that's what I want for my kids.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, bringing all of that in. We're so blessed. I mean, truly,
yes,
like
you are.
We all are. I mean, in this, I feel like to raise kids that are grounded, that are happy, that are good friends and that are kind.
Yes.
I think is just so important.
This clip is from my episode with Jen Ball, a super intentional and badass entrepreneur. If you want to hear more, check out the episode from January 25th titled Having a Ball, Building a Life That Makes Every Moment Count. Tell me about how life after 40 has surprised you. And like, what are you loving about life after 40?
Well, to be honest, I kind of thought after 40 was going to be downhill. I don't know why I had that in my mind.
I don't know. They call it like over the hill. I don't know if that's supposed to be 40, but midlife. I don't know. They say the rest is downhill. I thought the same thing.
Like I had some girlfriends out to Colorado for my 40th birthday. And I remember being like, this is like the best weekend of my life. We had so much fun. But I also kept thinking, it's downhill after this.
Yeah.
You know? And then I came back from that trip, and that's a couple years ago. Things have only gotten better. And I think it's because you finally like find a way to like hone in on yourself. For me, my kids are a little older. They don't need so much like of me physically.
Yes.
So being able to like really tap into like becoming more healthy myself and my friendships. I feel like we're all of us in our 40s. I feel like we're in the best place we've ever been. Like
I think so
and
too.
watching my friends grow over these last 10 years, like I can see they are happier and in a better spot.
I think just in our community, I've seen so many of us pop up and start our own things.
Yes. It's so inspiring.
I mean, we have side hustlers. We have people who are doing this as their sort of full-time career, but also like in a part-time capacity because they're protecting the time and energy that they want to spend. We have people changing careers. We have people pausing careers. And it's just, there's something beautiful about 40 where like you've experienced enough in life to know to not mess around anymore.
Right.
And to know your value. Hopefully that's what I really want everyone to see. And that then you kind of like, this is what Write Your Own Story is all about. You get to pick your path. You get to set your boundaries. You get to decide what you want your life to be like, and you get to roll with it. And I think that's so awesome. So you mentioned one thing that around self-care. So, okay, let's not minimize the fact that you are a mom of 4. You have a very active husband and you are very involved in the community. And oh, by the way, you just started a business. How do you take care of yourself? And did you have to learn the hard way that that's a priority?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. Samesies.
Mm-hmm. I think we've talked about this quite a bit, but I think we're both on a journey to kind of overcome some anxiety. Some, I struggled in a lot of ways my whole life with panic attacks.
Same.
But nobody would know because I'm so like quiet about it.
Yeah. Why do we all feel the need to be so quiet when our body physically feels like we're dying? I was like, when I had my panic attacks, I would rather sit there and die than raise my hand and say, I need help.
Like if you're on an airplane or something.
Oh God, yes. You're like, here's a panic attack.
Here my kids are watching and I'm supposed to be this like, everything's fine. It's just a few bumps.
Right. And you're like, I'm
internally like crushing myself.
Oh, okay. Well, I love you for saying that out loud because that is really brave. But it is, I'm right here with you, panicking on the plane or in the bathroom or you're not alone.
But I think I was like, enough. And I, during COVID, I listened to a lot of, actually I had like there's got to be a podcast about this somewhere. And so I pulled up one, it's called The Anxiety Slayer. And it resonated with me. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm not alone here. This is a thing.
This is so important for women to realize they are not alone.
Yeah, truly. I had no idea what I was feeling was actually something other people were feeling.
Yeah.
So after learning that, I was like, all right, they were giving tools of ways to help. So then from there, I went and in addition to like my general practitioner, I went to a holistic doctor and she put me on like great supplements and great vitamins. And then also doing acupuncture once a month for like kind of stress management.
Yes,
so
please.
All these things. And, I love to do like hot yoga or paddleboard or things that are just like peaceful and quiet.
Yeah.
And I love my quiet time.
Can we talk about, first of all, I just want to make sure that soaks in for everyone that like, I think so much for many of the 40 somethings that I know, men and women alike, all we want is peace.
Yeah.
And I think you're so intentional about how you find your peace to, like find the right doctor, to go down the sort of non-traditional path. Holistic medicine is awesome. And I love that you marry it with traditional medicine and you're just kind of tinkering until you find what works for you. And you've learned that, you weren't a super sporty spice growing up, but you love to paddleboard, which is badass, by the way, and hot yoga, which is so hard. How do we not all die in hot yoga, but we do it and we love it. And I see you there and we both love it. Yeah. I'm like, who knew I was so flexible? I'm not, I'm just 1,000 degrees.
Exactly. I'm just trying to get through this.
Just trying to get through this. But I think it's amazing that you're so intentional about that. And I think it's so important for those of us in our 40s. And please, anyone listening before your 40s, do this before you.
Oh my God. If I could go back and tell my childhood self, like figure this out because it's so releasing. Like it just takes like it's so cliche, but it takes an entire weight off once you realize and recognize that, okay, something's not right. But once you fix it, like you can do anything. I was like, oh my God, I got a new lease on life here. Like things look different.
And I like, don't we all deserve that? Don't we all deserve to know how to find our own peace and to find that new lease on life?
I don't know. I can't explain exactly what it was that made me do it, but I had enough, I think.
Had enough. I love that.
That's that. And then, I love a long steam shower.
Yeah, right. Yes, please. I call it a half an hour shower of power.
I love it. And I'll write notes on the steam.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah. And then so much so, Jeff gave me for Christmas, he gave me these notes that you put in the steam shower. They're like waterproof with a waterproof pencil.
That's so cool. Have you tried it?
No, I haven't tried it yet. It's still back to my like writing in the steam. But yeah, I don't know, and bringing some rosé in there sometimes. But yep. You just got to find you got to find what works for you.
I love that. And I think that is like, unfortunately, so many of us have to learn the hard way where like you see hard things or you experience hard things yourself and you realize you have no choice but to take care of yourself. But that is one of the most beautiful lessons in your 40s. Take care of yourself. And it's actually like amazing. And to carve out the time for that. And it's not like, we're also lucky we don't have toddlers anymore. Yes. So like we do have the time where our kids are at school to be like, okay, I need to go paddleboard or I need to sit and breathe or I'm going to sit in the steam shower. And I love that. And that I think also probably within those quiet moments is where you can really listen to your heart and be like, hey, I've got something here.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
You can't hear that amongst the noise of the head and the world and whatever. So I think that's amazing. And one thing also that I have learned from you, both in prepping for this and now when I reflect on our friendship and how we've interacted, is you're so intentional. And I think that, can you share the story of like, so you mentioned your girls' trip, how like you really set the intention for that trip with your friends and like kind of set that boundary to be like, this is what I want out of it. Can you please be a part of this? And I think it's really cool. So
for my 40th birthday, I took like 12 girlfriends out to Colorado, one of my favorite places in the world, because in Colorado, you can really you can get outside and kayak and paddleboard. And in the summer, I love Colorado in the summer. But I told my girlfriends that let's make this more of a retreat for us. Let's like revisit ourselves. Like we could sit around and talk about our husbands and our kids till we're blue in the face. We can do that at the bar down the street. Yep. But on this trip, I'm going to sign us up for kayaking and paddleboarding. I'm going to sign us up for spas. And, we walked the mountain, we hiked.
I love that.
We went out dancing. And we did definitely talk about, stuff going on at home. But we didn't have great cell service in the house. And it magically kind of like people were kind of like off their phone. And maybe you're on your phone in your room, but like in the open spaces, we were talking and we were like getting better, like doing something like kayaking or paddleboarding that we hadn't done before. And they really like respected that I had asked them to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, you can talk to your husband and your kids. I'm not trying to be like
right,
that.
But you're like, can we just set the intention to like grow a little bit on this trip and just leave all the baggage at home?
Oh, so good. I love a girls' trip, but this one was different.
That is so.
We did yoga, and a lot of them never do yoga.
Right. And it's like, sure. And like, I love the intention of just kind of like stepping outside of your comfort zone in like a non-stressful way. You're like, I'm on a girls' trip, never kayaked and never yogaed, but here we go because I'm here to celebrate Jen and I want to try it. And I think that is so awesome. And I think, you're intentional with your time for how you've protect your time with your family and how you want to show up. You're intentional with your peace. You're intentional with how you show up as a friend. I love how you had mentioned in a previous conversation that like you show up as a friend, and you're very honest about this, which I think is beautiful. Like, you're like, I'm not the friend who's going to call and text you every day. No. But man, oh man, if shit hits the fan, I am your girl.
For sure.
When shit hit the fan for me, you are my girl. You showed up, of course, with like a cute basket full of like cheese and wine, and you checked on me all the time. And when I would sit in negotiating meetings for my parenting schedule, scared out of my mind because I didn't know how often I was going to see my kids anymore, I would picture friends like you sitting in front of me. This is so ridiculous. I can't believe I'm sharing this. It must be the rosé. But literally, I would picture you and other girls that stood behind me when I felt like I couldn't stand. And I was like, make them proud.
Oh, I love it.
And that's it was like, okay.
Each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like, so like the impact that you have in your intentionality is so awesome. And so don't ever do anything but be you because you're pretty amazing.
Thank you.
So I think that's awesome. But again, 40s are awesome.
40s are awesome.
My mom always said 40s were her favorite decade. And I feel like she was the only woman from that generation to say that. But I think she's like, my kids aren't like relying on me so much, but they still love me.
Right.
And I'm finally finding myself again. And we got a little space to breathe. And isn't that a gift?
It's such a gift. And we hear from a lot of, at least I feel like I follow some ladies on social who are 40s and 50s who are embracing this stage in their life too. And that's empowering as well.
This clip is from my episode with Lauren Shatiwi, a widow and a dear friend. If you want to hear more, check out the episode from February 11th titled Getting Comfortable with Grief. So for someone who has watched someone grieve and tried to support them and have fumbled and done some things right and fumbled on some, and we've talked actively about how do you do this, you show up, you show up, you send the text, you drop things off, you respect their space, you listen.
Yeah. You talk about them.
Yes. And for you, if there's one person right now who is going through it, what would you say? And if there's, as a caretaker, what would you say? And if there's one person who is grieving, what would you say?
To a caretaker, I would say, I know it's hard and I know you're exhausted. It's so hard. And there's not an easy answer. And I've been there, and I know you want to judge yourself, because I still do, but you're doing the best you can.
Which is pretty phenomenal.
And you just keep going. You put one foot in front of the other. And you do what you have to do. But it is I look back at myself, pictures of myself. I'm like, I don't even recognize myself.
I know.
Like you are just so stressed and it's hard, but you have to take the walk. You have to give yourself a minute. You have to laugh with your friends if you can. So yeah, I would say, try not to judge yourself too harshly, but I would just say, I wouldn't give advice. I would just say, I see you. And I know it's hard, and I know you're exhausted. To someone grieving, I would say, let yourself feel it. Let the waves hit you, and know that it won't kill you, and you will be okay. There will be a different version of you. That doesn't mean it's not still you, because I struggled with that for a while. Like, who am I?
Right.
Who am I?
Right.
From the ages of 15 to 38, I was part of a duo, Barn and Jamal and Lauren. You didn't say one name without the other.
You didn't.
You didn't. And I loved that. And now I'm just me. And that took some real soul searching, but you will be okay.
Yeah.
And that is something, that's a sentence that holds so much power, and it seems so simple. My friend Jenny says it a lot. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. Somebody's sick, like a kid, or you're going through something. She's like, it's all going to be okay.
It's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay.
And it seems so simple, but it's so comforting.
Yes.
It will be. I mean, I've gone through terrible, terrible things, but I still know it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And like, I loved the old version of you, and I love the new version of you. It's still you.
Yeah.
It is still you.
Yeah.
But like, we're also not the same person we were when we were with toddlers or 10 or whatever.
You're constantly evolving.
And like, you can't judge the fact that you had to change. Not that you do. This is a rhetorical you, but like, I love the new version of you. And like, I still feel like same old you, but it's, I don't know, like the adaptiveness that you've had, and the honesty, which you've always, I don't know, it's just all the same you, but I can imagine for you, it feels wildly different because your life is wildly different.
It is. Yeah.
And there's something to be said for that, to embrace the fact that it is like a massive change. Your routine changes, your identity changes.
Your future changes. And that's something when you lose a spouse.
Gosh.
Luke died, and he wasn't in my life every day.
Right. He wasn't on your life plan.
Right.
Right.
I miss my brother.
Of course.
It didn't affect me on a day-to-day basis. Losing your spouse it changes, your entire future.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm 60 now. Will I have someone? Will I not? Are we going to retire? Like, it just.
Right. You just don't know.
You don't know.
I know.
So it's a real reality check.
Right. You're like, okay, well, that sucks.
Right.
Okay. So what is it in your life right now that brings you joy?
Number one, friends.
Yeah.
My time with my friends, going out,
having drinks, laughing. We know I love to laugh.
Yes. You're such an easy target.
Such an easy target.
That's one of my favorite things about being your friend. God. I'm like, I'm so funny.
I'm an easy laugh.
You are an easy laugh.
Men out there, if you're listening, I am an easy laugh.
She is an easy laugh.
I laugh at all your jokes.
You do.
I really do. Luke used to say that if he was a stand-up comic, he would put me in the front row because he's like, he would just get everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's hilarious.
Hilarious.
Killing it. Yeah. I love to laugh. So if I can go out and laugh.
Find moments to laugh.
laugh. I still like tennis.
Yeah.
You know,
right. Find your hobbies.
Finding hobbies. For me, it's being competitive and having that athletic outlet.
Which has always been like such a huge piece of you. She also is a badass athlete. So like, yes, Jamal is, you know, like, right.
And he kind of steals my thunder.
He definitely stole your thunder. But my favorite is when like you came back from vacation and your dad had taken one of your posters. I mean, she's like literally on a banner at UK, like doing some awesome, was it header or something like that? Yeah. And he comes back to where your workout room is and he's put a giant, like
a 10 by 20 foot poster with my head, like
doing a badass header. So yes, you are an athlete. So like maybe it's those moments of like returning to your core self.
Yes, God, it feels so good.
Yeah,
it feels so good to be competitive. So yes, friends, laughing, hobbies, keeping myself busy with you know, try to work out. I feel better if I am physically in a good place.
Yeah, definitely. You know? Don't undervalue that. Yeah, for sure.
And even if it's just going for a walk or something, I feel better about myself.
Yeah, definitely. You're so good at like taking a minute and all the things. And like what I love is like your laugh. Guys out there, her laugh is the absolute best. Her laugh is the best.
I just love it. I just love laughing.
She loves to laugh. She laughs with her whole body. It is from the belly out. But like you cannot help, but that is just to your core, to your soul. Like you are optimistic.
Yes.
As much as I joke, I'm like, you're not better.
Right. I know, we joke. I am optimistic.
You are so optimistic and you are so hopeful because like you do have a choice. And you know, like we read about this all the time with mental health. Like you have automatic negative thoughts. They call them ants. And like, how do you not be like, what am I going to do when I'm 60? What am I going to like, who's going to bury me? Like all this stuff. But you can choose right now and you can choose your thoughts.
Yes.
Because your thoughts kind of make your reality or your reality or like your thoughts are not your reality. You get to choose what they are.
Right.
So like you wake up every day and you choose optimism a lot, but you also embrace the reality. And I think it's just, I don't know, life is messy. And
life is messy. We say that all the time. That's kind of like our slogan. Betsy and Lauren.
Life is messy.
Life is messy.
Literally. But it is.
We're okay.
We're good.
We're fine.
We're good.
We're fine.
Everything's great.
Right. That's like literally the one time we played tennis together, you like shake hands over there. They're like, how are you? We're like, we're good. Right. We're great. She's a widow. She's divorced. We're like, but we're fine. We have 8 kids between us.
Tuesday morning tennis.
Right. But really.
Serve it up, Susan.
Susan, here we go. That was out.
Right. Were you sure?
Yes. Oh my God. I think as much as like this conversation, like the topic is so heavy.
Yeah.
This is so important. Like
it is. I think people are scared, rightly so, of grief.
Yeah.
You know, like nobody wants to think about it. Right? Like nobody wants to think about death or their loved one dying. Like I remember being in it and I'm like, oh man, I bet my friends are right now are like, fuck, what happens if my husband dies? Because you can't help it. You can't help it. And I hate that people see me and they're like, oh my God, there goes that woman whose husband died. And what if that happens to me? And nobody wants to think about it, but it is an unfortunate truth that it will touch all of us at some point.
Right.
And if you're lucky, it's grandparents and it goes in chronological order as it should. If you're lucky, that is how, and listen, if you have anxiety, that's how it usually happens.
Right.
That's how it should happen. What happened to me is not normal.
Right.
Is out of the ordinary and rare.
Right. It's true.
So don't let yourself get caught up on that.
Yeah.
But I know that that's something that people are like, oh boy, we don't want to talk about death.
Right. And like,
scary.
they also don't want to talk to you about it because it's like, oh no, I want to shed light on the crappy.
That happens a lot too. Like what not to say. I found, and my friends are pretty good about this, all of you, but I never wanted people to not, there was one time one of my friends I was like, you're not telling me something. She's like, well, I just
you have enough. Like, I don't want to bitch to you about my, the fight that my husband and I got. And I'm like, no, like, tell me.
This is normal. I want to be normal.
I want to hear about your fight with your husband. It doesn't make me like, oh my God, at least you still have one. Like, I might do it a little bit up here. But, but more than not, like, I remember that. As beautiful as my marriage was, we still fought and had knockdown, drag out fights. And I remember what that's like. And I want to help, and I want to hear, and I want to be your friend.
Yeah. Right.
I want to be there.
Don't take that away from people. Yeah, for sure.
So don't not, say things because you think it's going to bring up the fact that they're alone.
Right. You're like,
don't worry. I love being alone.
Here it comes. Oh my God.
It's good.
Really, we're going to offend some people.
I know. Well,
really.
Welcome to the shit show.
Welcome to the shit show that we are. But that is like one of my very favorite parts about our friendship.
Right.
Is like,
it's a little off color, it's a little dark, but it's real.
It's real. And it's like, thank God we have each other.
Yes.
Yes. Literally.
I also hope that people see me and my situation, and if it makes them appreciate what they have, I hope, just like when Luke died, and I held on to Jamal so tightly that night because I was like, I can't even imagine losing him. I hope that when people heard Jamal dying, I hope they held their husbands that night.
Yeah.
I hope they
sure
do.
They did.
Yeah. I hope they be nice. Try to be nice to each other. Right. Because I would give anything to have a husband to hold on to and to dote on and to love and like, so be nice.
Yeah. Be nice.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think, this is a hard topic, but like, I'm so grateful for you to be brave enough and to come on here. Like, you had mentioned to me that like you were starting to talk to people and counsel people in grief. And immediately I was like, can you please come on the podcast? This is a conversation that every person needs to hear, that like, there, as much as there is hardship, there is hope. As much as there is dark, there is light. Like, there are so many choices that you can make. There's so much help that those on the outside can provide. And there's so much beauty to what you had that is never lost.
Right.
Despite grief.
Right.
And like, at the end of the day, it's like, keep going and embrace the mess and find the joy when you can. Right. And if you can't find it, try again the next day.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. You just can't give up.
Don't give up.
Can't give up. And at the end of the day, I know grief is scary, but it is a testament. This is something I've learned too, that the harder you grieve, it's just a testament to how hard you loved.
This clip is from an episode that's just me, your host and the founder of the Female Founders Academy. If you want to hear more, check out the episode from May 8th titled How to Write Your Own Story, what I've learned from 40 hours of conversation with women. What does it mean to me to write your own story? So I think when I started this journey, as everyone, probably knows, life twists and turns for everyone. And for me, my marriage ended, and that was, incredibly sad, and just truly a life-changing event. And so it really kind of like took me all the way back down to the ground, and I had to rebuild from there. Like so many of us in our generation, I felt like I had tried in life, this doesn't even apply to marriage, in life, everything I could to be perfect, to do what people expected of me, to try, and then if not, try harder and harder, to be kind and gracious, to make sure that everyone around me felt comfortable, and to put other people first, always. It's what feels the most natural, to be honest. And when I came up for air after my divorce, I was just like, fuck it. Fuck what, excuse my language. I swear I'm only drinking tea. Forget what society tells me that I should be agreeable, and that I should prioritize everybody else's needs before mine. Screw what I had defined in my own head of what a good marriage made, and what I thought motherhood, had to look like, because it no longer fit. I was really, truly put in this place where I had to write my own rules for my life. And it is one of the greatest blessings of my life. So when I talk about, chapter 2 of my life, it was really sort of that rise. My mom was kind enough to call me a phoenix, sort of like rising from the ashes, which so many of us have been. We've all been through, wild, traumatic events or life-changing events. I'm certainly not the only one. And we rise, right? That's just what we do. We keep going. we bounce. And so really it was about like, I, prioritized my family. I went back to work in a more traditional way. I, basically had to like really truly refigure out everything in my life. But what I'm feeling like right now is almost like a chapter 3. Like I am no longer the woman who got divorced. At least to me, I'm not like, and I don't know if that sounds weird to anyone, but like after Adeline came home from the hospital, for those who haven't listened to that episode, it's a story of miracles. You should definitely check it out. It's she's amazing. But Adeline was in the hospital. She was critically ill. It was definitely a rug pull out of you moment. I had no idea that she was going to be sick. And then she ended up being in the ICU and a high risk kid for 2 years. Incredibly traumatic, had PTSD, all the good stuff. And for the longest time, I identified myself as the mom with a sick kid. And I was like terrified to be known as anything else, because if I thought, it's almost like you feel like if you're going to forget those memories, then you're no longer going to be safe, because, it was so out of nowhere. And so I don't know, I think I kind of like got into that zone a little bit, as I think many people do, about my divorce. And I was like, I'm the girl that got divorced. And I'm just me. And I'm like, okay, this feels amazing to just be me. And if I look around and really take in my surroundings, I am a mom of 4. I am a podcast host. I'm a business mentor. I'm a friend. I'm a daughter, a sister, wild and crazy, calm and peaceful, everything in between, but I'm just me. And I'm in this really new sort of like bounce space where I'm like, yep, this is it. This is just where life is. And so after talking, I've done almost 20 podcasts, if not 20. And then I ran my female founders course where it was 20 hours of course time. And after all that conversation, that's almost 40 hours. Maybe it's 30, maybe it's 40. We're rounding. I'm not really sure. Who's going to check my math? I don't really care. Again, not perfect. After a lot of conversation with women around what it means to write your own story, I've had some really cool themes pop up. So I was like, let's share these. So when I started this podcast, and really when I started this business around writing your own story, I'm going to even pull up the website to make sure that I get it verbatim. So really, it was around encouraging women to live the life they dream about, right? I mean, so many of us have so many dreams on our heart. It doesn't even have to do with business. It's just, I really want to be this, or I really want to be that. And I pause and challenge you guys to think about, is my dream on my heart, I want to lose 10 pounds? Because that one sucks. Like, that's not a dream on your heart. I would challenge you to be like, are you unhealthy, or society making you feel bad about your weight? If you want to lose 10 pounds, go lose 10 pounds, but that's not the dream on your heart. So does all your energy have to go to 10 pounds? Or is the dream on your heart that I no longer want to live with anxiety every day, or that I want to feel energized when my kids come home from school, or it's, I want to start my own business. I've always wanted to be a podcast host, and I want to tell women's stories because I feel like women's stories are the essential clues to our future selves. And I feel like they're important and need to be told. I don't know. My point is that to think broadly and to challenge yourself to make sure that you are checking yourself against what you think you should do, whether that be your own thoughts from your head or societal pressures or family pressures or whatever it may be. Really check in with yourself and try and get the real answer on that one. But really, when I thought about, and I still believe wholeheartedly, writing your own story is about blocking out the societal shoulds and the inner voices of why me and am I enough, so that you're brave enough to pick up the pen and write their own story of your life. That still holds true 100%. I actually, with my journal, will sit down every morning and write almost like, how do I want the story to go today? And that's not a to-do list. That's a, how do I want to feel when I'm doing, hold on, more tea. When I'm doing each part of my day. How do I want to feel when I'm getting my kids ready for school? How do I want to feel in that hour before I start work? How do I want to feel when I'm working on whatever's on my to-do list today? How do I want to feel when I go to tennis and I'm seeing my girlfriends at tennis, or, you get it. But again, so I'm like walking through the parts of my day, but I've found myself so much more peaceful, definitely more intentional and more joyful when I kind of section out the different parts of the day in terms of like, how do I want it to go? My life used to be so much, especially being a corporate girl, around output and performance and production. And now it's like, I don't know, maybe it's just being 42 and you're done messing around. But I'm like, now it's just,
How do I want to feel? How do I want to feel if I'm going to go have dinner with someone? Did that work out? I should be able to evaluate that. So I don't know. So for me, it really is. I think that's a great example of putting down the societal shoulds of like, I have so much to do today. I sure do. Everyone has so much to do every day. I'm not negating that at all, but protecting how you want to feel during the day has been an absolute game changer to me. And sometimes that means things need to either be delegated or moved off the to-do list, or sometimes you're just doing the to-do list, but you have a whole different energy shift, which has truly been game changing. I made some other notes based on, I've interviewed some of the most amazing women, and I cannot wait to interview more. I absolutely loved the women that I got to speak to in my female founders class. And there were some really cool common themes. So I'm just going to I don't know, again, no structure here. I can barely read my notes because it's like pre-coffee, post-coffee scribble. And this is in no particular order. So just roll with me here, peeps. Okay. First one I wrote was embracing your own uniqueness. Ooh, ladies, no more fitting in and no more coming home from a party and beating ourselves up, being like, God, I hope I didn't talk too much. I hope I was a good listener. Did I say that weird? Did I make someone feel weird? Were you yourself? Were you kind? Were you gracious? The end. That's it. That's all there is to it. Embracing your own uniqueness. This next one is for moms. Prioritizing your own needs and dreams. Prioritizing doesn't mean forgetting everybody else. That's not an option at this stage in life, nor does anyone want it to be. We love the people that are in our community. We love the little people that are in our home. But prioritizing your own needs is essentially putting the oxygen mask on your own self as the plane's going down so that you can then save the rest of your family. I wish there was a less dramatic analogy, but that's what we're going to go with because it's true. Like we get into these moments and I'm just coming out of a season of like crazy busy and I absolutely took the oxygen mask off and I'm paying for it now, but I know the tools in my toolbox to get back in there and take care of myself and prioritize movement. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be tons. It just has to be me prioritized doing things that make my nervous system and my body feel good and my soul feel good. So I think whether that be dabbling in a side hustle, whether that be making time to connect with friends, maybe that's permission to go to bed earlier or to put your phone down because it doesn't make you feel good. Whatever it is, put the oxygen mask on you first so that you can be extra special when you're around those other people. And also just so you feel good, because can't we just feel good too? I think I just went through this one before, but focusing on how you want to feel, that's a game changer for me. Truly. It's not how much am I going to get done? It's how am I going to feel today? And it truly, like, if I really like boil down one thing that has changed my energy and really everything about me is that fundamental shift. This one's really hard, but it is absolutely critical to writing your own stories, not being afraid of stepping out of your own comfort zone. Gosh, you guys, that is being brave enough to launch something on social, or you launched it, being brave enough to continue to show up on social if you're in business. We talked about this a ton in Female Founders Academy. Imposter syndrome sucks and it is rampant. And I think absolutely everybody suffers from it. So if you're feeling that way, where you're like, your imposter syndrome essentially is like, I don't feel qualified, or I don't feel good enough, or why me, or fear of judgment. Like if I do X, Y, Z, am I going to be judged? First of all, the people that you're worrying about judging you probably aren't your people. Your people are the ones who see and reflect your value back to you, and vice versa. It doesn't have to be transactional. It's just a genuine understanding that I see your value, you see mine. So be brave enough to step outside of your comfort zone. Be brave enough to step outside of the comfort zone of your own thoughts. This is an example. I absolutely need a day of rest. That is so hard for people to do. But like resting is putting fuel in the tank. And this is just like another sort of unique example of step outside your comfort zone. Me coming on here and doing a podcast by myself, totally outside my comfort zone. But I'm doing it because my whole mission is to help people write their own story. And I've genuinely enjoyed, I knew I would love doing this podcast. Well, I had a hunch I would, but it has filled my cup up and I have truly loved every single second of it. And I can't wait to do a bajillion more episodes. There's so many amazing women out there that all of our stories deserve to be told. People deserve to feel heard, to know that they are not alone. known, to have clues for their future self, to be inspired. So that's it, guys. I think that's really, I wish I could wrap it up with something amazing, but we're just like drinking tea and letting it rip here from pages of my journal and from thoughts over the last 30 to 40 hours of hanging with some really cool, amazing women. I want to thank forever and always the women who come on this podcast and who will continue to come on this podcast. Your voice is so important and your time and your bravery is so appreciated. And thank you for checking in with me and giving me your feedback, whether it be positive or constructive or guests to consider. All of it is genuinely so appreciated. This truly has just been the time of my life. So ladies, I hope that today gave you a little insight into more specifically about what it means to write your own story. And I hope that it helps you write your own. I hope that you've loved listening to these segments as much as I have. I am seriously so grateful when I look back on these beautiful conversations from 2024, and it makes me beyond excited to think what 2025 will bring. I literally can't wait. It brings me so much joy knowing that each aha, quiet whisper, or spark will be different for everyone listening to this recap. That's the beauty of storytelling. It's always in service of a collective audience, but its interpretation is always completely unique. I hope you can look back on 2024 and no matter the challenges you faced, you find the good and recap that for yourself. I hope that you're looking forward to 2025. I'm really looking forward to recording that episode in just a few days, but what I'm really, really loving is this time right now, sitting in the quiet, reflecting, looking at inspiration, listening intently to my quiet whispers from within. And that is the most peaceful and exciting part of the year to come. Cheers to 2025. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. Well, that's the end of this episode, but promise me, you won't stop here with whatever it is you're feeling or dreaming about. I hope you leave today feeling empowered to live life just as you see fit. If this podcast was helpful to you, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. I genuinely just want to help women live the life they dream about. So if this type of content tracks with you, subscribe to this podcast or visit our website, writeyourownstory.co, to download digital courses or to grab a journal and a mug to just dream in and dream with. It's your life, lady. Do you. And just remember, I'm rooting for you and you've totally got this.